Peace. Today's episode of the Uplifted Being podcast has been brought to you by the Educated E-Commerce Online Learning Platform, presented to you by serial entrepreneur, author, and podcast host of the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint podcast, Jay Jones. Learn how to build a six-figure e-commerce business in 26 weeks with the Educated E-Commerce course today. Hit the link in the show notes or log on to educatedecommerce.net to sign up and get started now, family. Peace.
Greetings, and welcome to the Uplifted Being podcast, family. It's time to sync up and be uplifted.
You know that feeling. That feeling, you can't describe it really. It's just like that you feel it. That you feel it. That you feel it. That you feel it.
This is how we do it over here at the Uplifted Being show.
They say once you find your vibe, you find your tribe. Find your vibe, you find your tribe. Find your vibe, you find your tribe. Find your vibe, you find your tribe.
I have to be it. Rather than I have to have it or I have to do it. It's like I have to be it. I have to become it. I have to be the change that I want to see.
You realize that that's a reflection of you, and what they do, you can also do.
The tangible versus the intangible, and as we know, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real.
Find your vibe, you find your tribe.
But you feel it.
Now we're gonna keep it light.
Peace, family. Welcome to the Uplifted Being Show. It's Sister Angela Mills, also known as now Melanin, hailing from London in England in the UK. Welcome. Thrilled to be back for another fire episode. And man, do we have an episode for you. If you're joining us here for the first time today, let me send you a warm, loving, uplifted, light, fire. Welcome to the show. We are all about anything and everything to remind you, not teach you, remind you of the powerful creator that you are, that each and every one of us is. So welcome your powerful self. We're going to keep this quite short. We've got a great show for you. But before we get into it, along with our special guest, let me throw this over to one of the other hosts over there. Who are we going to? Over there, across the pond to the US of A, New Jersey.
Fundy River, Fundy Boat. Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to the Uplifted Being Show, as my beautiful sister has already put it. You know, I'll be your brother Dwayne, a divine mother, because, she is fine. Them hills and the mountains and them curves and that precipitation, baby, yeah.
Them valleys
and them hills and them swamps. What else, Kay?
Some volcanoes.
Hey, eruption. We give thanks for Mother Earth and the divine masculine and feminine, man. We give thanks. So welcome to the Uplifted Being Show. You know we about to get uplifted with our special guest today, family. And don't forget to go to upliftedbeing.com, and you can download us and rate us and subscribe us and like us and share us on all platforms, baby. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all that good jazz, family. And make sure you go to upliftedbeing.com and you can listen to us right from the site, family. So without further ado, I'm going to send it off to the third of the Trinity, because he's hailing from not the bricks, but the 666.
Carbon. Melanin Rich. Peace, family. What's good? It's your brother Brian Nee, Akko Boy Doku, also known as Melanin Rich, and we back up in this family. Wow. You know, I always be like, wow, we got a dope episode, we got this and that, but nah, for real though. We got the plug in the building. No socket, just the plug, man. We got the plug, you know, so a lot of the guests we've been having on this podcast, I actually met through this brother, and I don't know if this intro will do him enough justice, but let me shoot my shot, man, you know? This is a brother I've been known for a few years now. He's a genius. He's a father, a husband, you know, he's an entrepreneur, you know. He's an author. Man, he's a connector. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, his network is extensive, and you know what they say. You know, your network and your net worth, they're totally related. So, you know what I mean? This brother right here is the next future billionaire, I'm telling you, man. So, let me not hold the line, man. Let me introduce the king, brother Victor Beausoleil. Woo woo! Woo woo!
Yeah.
Incredible introduction. I'm so proud of the work that y'all are doing. Such generational collaboration and just connecting from across the seas, UK to Jersey to Toronto. Beautiful, beautiful. So proud of y'all. So a round of applause for y'all.
Thank you,
I
brother.
receive it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. My journey has been epic. I incarnated in the flesh. 1983, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Greatest party on earth. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Born and raised in Toronto, hailing from Scarborough, one of the most underserved, marginalized communities in Toronto. That community had more check cashing stores than food banks. You know what I mean? The liquor store closed later than the library. Lots of massage parlors, poverty. And yeah, I was an entrepreneur from day one. Day one, I started my first business around 9 years old. It was called BSMN. Victor, Sasha, Melanie, and Natalie. It was me and my 3 cousins. And we dug up my parents' backyard in Malvern, and we used to sell soil door to door to the neighbors in buckets. And they would buy it from us children just to bless us. Imagine. Soil. We moved on up to me procuring my mother's Jean Naté bottles. Jean Naté is a perfume. I used to mix down the Jean Naté with water in little bottles from Bargain Heroes, almost like the oil bottles we have, and we used to sell those door to door. I moved on to a paper route. I had 1 paper route for the Scarborough Mirror. And after that, I ended up realizing if I got more paper routes, I could actually create infrastructure. So I had 5 paper routes and I had 4 friends, and I used to get interest in a big of them doing the routes. So entrepreneur from start. This is about 13 years old.
That's beautiful.
Entrepreneurial endeavors turned sideways. A lot of brothers in my community that are doing some malevolent work identified my skill sets in terms of networking and sales and entrepreneurship, and then they put different products and services in front of me, and I had quite a run. I changed my life around 19 years old. To be honest with you, at 16, I got knowledge of self. My cousin Jonathan put me on to Nuwapu. At 17, I was FOI, part of the Fruits of Islam, with NOI on Bathurst Street under Brother Ramadan. Heavy in Nuwapu, got to connect with Sister Zakina on Bushwick Avenue, read The Mind, Your Potential, and a lot of Doc's books. Really built my capacity, and it helped me put down things, but I was still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Built with my brothers from Scarborough, Henchmanati, incredible group of musicians that were conscious. And we had a serious tribe. My brother Prime, who's currently the Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple up here, met him when I was 18. And we built an organization at 18 called African Educators. And African Educators was literally about edifying and building the capacity of our people and uplifting fallen humanity. We had Rome classes, ROAM, Re-Education of African Minds, at Gordon Ridge Community Center and Mid-Scarborough Community Center every Wednesday and Friday evening. This was weekly. We doing these classes. I'm 18. My brother Prime at the time I think was 26. And we built a really nice mass of folks coming out every week to learn. We built something called the ABC, the African Book Collaborative. Very simple. You donate a book to the library, or the Trueberry used to call it, you in. The book or the Trueberry scaled to 476 members, which was incredible in those times. We used to deliver the books from a trunk of our cars to people's houses. Later on, we changed the name of African Educators to CEOT, Cultural Educators of Toronto. And under Cultural Educators of Toronto, we had a vast amount of lectures in the city. We brought, at the time, Dr. Umar Johnson. We brought him up here 3 times. We brought Brother Polite up here a few times, Queen Afua 4 times, Dr. Phil Valentine, Black Dot twice, Brother A.A. Rashid. The list goes on in terms of the quote-unquote conscious community, mainly hailing from the 125th Street model. Built with my brother Frank Gehry at 19, otherwise known as Sonnetter, and got a whole bunch of his DVDs. Me and my wife actually traveled out there, and we spent like $4,000. And we bought a whole bunch of DVDs and came back and bought DVD duplicators. And at 19, I opened up my first store called Egypt Rising, a comedic spot where we sold incense, oil, shea butters, where we had wall-to-wall DVDs. Literally blessed the whole hood. I'd say almost all the House of Conscious DVDs that hit Toronto with a wave came from our small sets, amassing it out to the public. I had at one point 7 DVD duplicators. So it was a serious season. From there, I went heavily into the social service sector in Ontario because I realized that the grassroots work was important, but I wanted to employ my people. And I built an organization called Redemption Reintegration Services, which was predicated on working with young men coming out of incarceration. Because for years, I ran a rites of passage program for young men in Malvern and Kingston, Galloway, building their capacity around African-centered principles and precepts, and really trying to just get them out of forms of toxic masculinity and really showing that we can be more. With that being said, Redemption Reintegration Services scaled exponentially from $100,000 to $400,000. And when I was 24, we got $3.5 million from the provincial governments of Ontario. Beautiful season of my life, 17 staff, registered nurse practitioners, housing workers, employment counselors. I had 22 volunteers, placement students, and I'm a young executive director, one of the youngest executive directors in the city of Toronto at the time. Beautiful, beautiful movements in a season, and then life happens. At 29 years old, I was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and deadly weapons charge. I went from being a shining prince in the conscious community and the social service sector to, wow, he's a nigga. I fell heavily. Beautiful season though, because a lot of times our character is forged through literally water or fire. That season was very challenging for me. Very challenging because the court system creates a dynamic in which if you don't have a bail variance, you can't leave your home. So imagine being a husband and father and you can't leave to go work. In that season, a beautiful thing happened to me. There's a brother named Eric Thomas. Thank God it's Monday, Eric Thomas. He's a serious... He came up to Toronto and there was a speaking engagement and I opened for him. I was one of the speakers for the day. And he came up to me after I spoke and he said, brother, that was incredible. Very powerful. I'm proud of you. He's like, but young man, all those people came around you after the session and all you gave them was a bloody business card. Write a book, young man. And I reached in my pocket and I showed him the check I was paid for the session. I said, I think I'm doing good, elder. You know what I mean? And he pulled out his check. You know what I mean? Which is about $52,000. And he said, look at that table over there. My wife is going to leave here with probably $10K tax-free from my book sales. Write a book, young blood. That same night I went home and started my first book. Since then I've written 14 books, published 11. So I always give honors to that good brother and all my elders that have edified me over the years. So many elders and community men. So with that being said, in that season, I was on house arrest for 3.5 years with an ankle bracelet. I wrote 14 books and had various incredible community events. And really had to build my capacity to recognize that we are not the sum of a mistake, and we are not the sum of our weakness. Character is forged in fire, and most importantly, a lot of times character is not taught, and character is formed in community. And we lack community in most of the municipalities across the world. Toronto is a cult. New York is a cult. New Jersey is a cult. London is a cult. These are municipalities mainly built by white men who usually are greedy and believe in nothing, to be honest with you. Generationally, our parents came to these cities as immigrants. And if you watch shows like the Vikings and these shows, back in the day, Europeans were able to go into regions and what would they do? They would kill the men and take the women and the children, mainly the female children. Due to immigration policies, they didn't even have to do that in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. If you look at how most black people came to Toronto, it was through something called domestic schemes. Same thing in England. They were willing to take our women from the islands, not the men. And they came originally as domestics. So when I say that even though these lands are ours as indigenous beings with a high concentration of melanin, or African people, or black people, whatever misnomer or term you want to use, the fact remains that these cities are very problematic to our consciousness, our psyche, and our ability to really actualize our true divine purpose. In Yoruba culture, they call it the Ori. And the Ori is predicated on your purpose, your passion, what drives you. Just to be clear, I build, I teach, I write, I speak. As long as I keep my alignment with building, teaching, writing, speaking, everything goes beautiful. When I deviate from my purpose or my path, that's usually when things go a little sideways. And praise God, it's been 6-7 years since my fall. Right now, I've written all those books. I'm the principal consultant of Intuit Consulting. I'm a sovereign social purpose organization where I support folks with public consultations, policy development, literature reviews, grant development, copywriting, workshops, strategic planning sessions, business plans, a plethora of services and supports. We even do some social media and web development stuff. And I'm also the founder of a national coalition called SETSI, Social Economy Through Social Inclusion, because I'm a social purpose engineer, entrepreneur. I was able to weave my passion for community development with my passion for entrepreneurship. And social economy is that space where I can do that. The SETSI coalition right now has 186 members nationally, and we're scaling. We've been doing capacity building sessions across Ontario. And yeah, I'm excited to be here today. And that's kind of my 4 or 5 minute spiel on my background. It could be a lot longer because I can be long-winded. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I let the family know what and who they're dealing with today.
Yeah, my mind is blown right now. Like there was so much in there. I'm not even sure I can contain. Wow. That's a story and a half, journey and a half.
Where do we start? You can
start with
hold on, family. Because sorry to cut y'all off, but I love what Brother Vic said, that we're not, I mean, there's so much that into what he said, but he said that, the society, like the cities, you know, like they leave us powerless to a certain extent. And it's funny because, man, so many people have so much pride in their city.
Exactly.
That like he said, that we're city, the city bounds us, and we're not family orientated. We're city orientated. Like we have so much pride in the name of our city, and don't have so much pride in the name of our community and in the name of our family. That shit hit deep.
So right now, everyone's wilding out over the Toronto Raptors. This is the when black men will be honored. If you think about that, 3 weeks ago, black men are the highest level of victims, not just perpetrators, victims of violence crimes. If we were to reframe these cities around black men being the center of most violence and solving that problem as a public safety issue, we would change things overnight. Black men are honored when they're on a court bouncing a ball, but not in communities or any of these underserved, marginalized communities. So it's crazy when I see all these folks, you know, cheering for the Raptors, but not cheering for the men dribbling the balls.
Right. When 87% of all of the NBA is us.
Indeed.
You know, in any sports, really. I think that's a very heavy dynamic. And, you know, we try not to deal in woulda, coulda, shouldas. We try to deal with realities, but at the same time, that's a powerful would've. And that's a very powerful should've. You know what I'm saying? Like the black man and black woman, the whole family dynamic, black children as well, need to be raised in this type of consciousness or awareness of our self, not only self-preservation, but of our self-greatness. You know, and I think that the elders and the supporting group and the experiences that you had, Brother Vic, is such a key example of what we need to see when there is a community or when there is a brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? When there is some type of structure, and what can happen when that structure actually initiates like that whole greatness and gears to the gifts of a black man. You know what I'm saying? Because not only did you flourish, I'm sure the brothers around you flourished. And now the brothers around you flourish. Now the children around you flourish. Now the women around you flourish. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that whole dynamic. It's just so beautiful. And I love, like, it's like music to my ears hearing you talk, brother. I appreciate it.
No, I give thanks, brother. I've really been on this paradigm of these cities for a while now, just because my work has brought me into every powerful room in my city, and to be honest with you, my country. Like, I've sat on the Premier's Council for Youth Opportunities. I've met with 2 prime ministers. I've met with every city mayor in Toronto for the past 4 cycles, like city councils. And when I look at how the constructs of all these major cities, and I've done speaking engagements in a lot of cities in the States, Czech Republic, Prague, I've been to Africa many times. We as men must remove ourselves from these cities with our women and our children. And a lot of brothers struggle with this paradigm because there's so much comfort in these cities. But in terms of divine masculinity, think about this. If you're in a major city, you consume everything. When most people bathed this morning, they didn't go get water. They turned on a tap. No matter how poor you are in any of these cities, you turn on the tap, you consume water. Then you consume electricity that you didn't produce through, let's say, solar or thermal models of self-determination. Then after that, you consume some food that you probably, if you're a carnivore, didn't kill. And if you're a vegetarian, probably didn't grow. And then we consume gas and petrol to get to our meetings, and we consume content on YouTube and on Instagram, and it goes on and on. It's a consumption-based model in these cities that literally tears away, from my perspective, at masculinity. Hence the reason why we have so many beta males in these cities. Hence the reason why we have so many sisters that are not provided for and protected in the way they should be. Hence the reason why we have so many young people and children subsistent on the states and child welfare. And eventually, usually the masculine authority that engages our boys is the police services when they get to a certain age. Because remember, everyone gets covered. Everyone gets covered in some way, shape, or form. The women and children will be covered, the men will be covered, or the boys will be covered by law enforcement. The women will be covered by women's shelters and shitty housing projects. So we as men have to find ways and means to, I'm not trying to just pitch repatriation, but I'm pitching sovereignty. Really trying to figure out ways where we can, one, eliminate the concept of job, because as a husband and father, if you have a full-time job, I'm almost positive, and some men may get mad at this, but I'm almost positive you are not able to be the husband and father you truly can be to your wife and your children, because you're beholden to a set of masters, no matter who you work for. So self-determination, entrepreneurship, sovereignty is key for me in terms of really cultivating masculinity, and more importantly, to protect our women and children from all the social ills that need to be mitigated in these cities, which are cults.
Absolutely. Hey, King, would you say that it's a power dynamic? King, Brother Vic, would you say that it's a power dynamic that we should be striving for?
I wouldn't even say power. I would say, because power concedes to nothing, never has, never will. You know what I mean? Our honorable ancestor, Frederick Douglass, said that. I would say it's more about real community developments. Community development should be predicated on divine masculine and feminine coming together and rearing healthy children. And these healthy children and the divine masculine and feminine creating sovereign, strong families. And these sovereign, strong families connecting with other sovereign, strong families to create villages, tribes, villages. And these villages connecting with other villages to create community. Once you have that, you're able to solve some of these social ills that we have. So it's not really about power, it's about community development, because the thing about power is power usually attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Let me say that again. Power usually attracts one more time and attracts the best. And there's been seasons in my life where I was very powerful. And those sometimes were not the best seasons in my life, to be honest with you. So I'm about sovereignty, which is a better word. And I like words, verbiage, and I'm about community development.
There's so much.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Queen. I bow down to the Queen.
Why, thank you. No, there's so much there. But what really jumps out to me strongly is when you said, just talking about this concept of the job, and if effectively a man is working a full-time job, it basically takes him out of, it disables him from really being, the husband and the provider he should be. I would say that's equal for the women, because I've just in a situation where I've recently stopped working by choice to be, to focus on a few different things, but primarily to be there for my children. And the number of conversations I've had, so I'm speaking from the sisters' perspective, but the number of conversations I've had with fellow sisters, with other women, and the struggle that is like, well, if you go to work, then you will get judged for not having or not spending enough time with the children. If we don't go to the work, it's like, well, when are you going to work? You need to provide, and you need to show that you're worthy. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? It is almost like being trapped. But I totally get and personally resonate with the fact that when you give it literally is giving you all your energy to a full-time job, I'm not saying that a job doesn't have a purpose, but like you say, in the holistic scheme of things, it's taking all your energy. So by the time you get home, man or woman, it's like you don't have the quality, if you like, of that energy to really put into the love and the nurturing to your family. I totally get that.
Indeed, I agree with you. The reason why I didn't address the sisters is because I'm a 35-year-old husband and father of 4. I believe that I don't really like when brothers address sisters in that way. I believe that older men may be able to edify and share with sisters and tell them what they should or should be doing, and older women. But I address my brothers in terms of, and the women in my cycle. You know, I mean, my wife, I can say, hey, love. But in terms of, I don't want to be out here saying sisters shouldn't be. There's too many men trying to tell women what they should be doing. So I'm very rough with my brothers. I speak it as it is, but I appreciate you adding that because I agree wholeheartedly. And you said what I wasn't willing to say.
But we were all thinking.
For real. But yeah, definitely into just that. Everything is backwards, upside down. You know, we're rushing around to a job, to make money, but then you don't have you make the money, you don't have the time to spend it. You're absent. You can provide materially, but you're not emotionally, mentally, spiritually present, you know, with the family. It's just all back to front, you know. So when you speak about community and power, I see what you mean in terms of, I guess, how it's interpreted. People tend to attach, there is some kind of like sinister almost connotation to power, or it brings out power hungry people. But yeah, community, really the power, in my eyes, the power is in the family dynamic. It is in the community. And I guess that's why across the world, we definitely see in the West, you know, so much effort being put into breaking down the family structure by all, you know, by any means possible.
Absolutely, my sister. If you take Canada, for instance, a lot of people believe that Canada is run by Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister. That is not accurate. Canada is run by the Trudeau family. The concept of Justin Trudeau is a 50-year-old idea from his father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who was also Prime Minister. The Trudeau family and their associates run Canada. If you look at the provincial government of Ontario, Doug Ford, our premier, doesn't run Ontario. The Ford family runs Ontario. His father was an MP. The concept of Doug Ford is, once again, a 50-year-old idea. And if you know anything about the city of Toronto, our mayor, John Tory, the Tory family lineage is very real, very affluent, very real in Toronto. And when you look at names like Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and the list goes on and on, powerful families rule the world. But these families are very clear in terms of how they tell the world how they should govern their families. The men should go to work. The wife should go to work. The children should be in school. That is madness. Absolute madness. One of my greatest challenges as a father, of which I get to beat for the first time this year in terms of the homeschooling of our children, is the fact that I've had to outsource my children's educational attainments for so many years. Granted, we've been very disciplined and regimented after the 3 o'clock hours in terms of homework, dinner, bathe, bed, extracurricular activities that align with the principles and precepts of our ancestors and our Igun. But the fact remains that true sovereignty is about the family working together. Most marriages fail because of just biometrics and biochemistry, if you really think about it. If the masculine and the feminine are away from each other for 8 hours a day at opposite jobs, then when they get home, they're too exhausted to deal with each other, and sometimes don't even eat meals together, and may not even go to bed at the same time together. That is not a relationship. You are roommates with children. And that is a problem. So holistic models in which we can rebuild our elays as men, models in which that we can understand the concept of husbandry, understand the concept of being a father, are tools that I put in the text that I mentioned earlier. And I'm really excited. These things are not taught anymore. In indigenous times, we had orders, we had fraternities, we had lodges. To this day, there's lodges and fraternities, but they stole our sciences to create networking clubs to generate revenue and profits and to share opportunities. We had fraternities, lodges, and orders to pass down traditional indigenous ways of knowing, being, overstanding, and understanding. We've lost these sciences. So I think that finding ways and means that we as men can convene, build, and edify each other and build each other's capacity and uplift each other is incredibly important. And the same thing for our sisters in terms of the covens, the harems, the models in which these witchy women, these bourgeois, these epic vessels of the most precious commodity in our community, in the world, to be honest, if you really know the science of matriarchy and the juju that our women have, they should be convening to do that work. So I'm really excited about some of the emerging things that I'm seeing in so many regions, brothers and sisters building, because I always think that I'm an optimist. I'm very altruistic. I believe that there's more good happening in the world than bad. I believe that the bad has better marketers and better social media practitioners. And yeah, we have to be vigilant. We have to push, because this is divine work, and anyone that's part of that messianic legacy to uplift fallen humanity knows their purpose in the Ori. We may deviate, we may take pathways, journeys, but I believe we must arrive together. We must arrive together. It's much better to go fast or far together than fast alone.
Absolutely.
Let that marinate though. You know, because I mean, hey man, Brother Vic, man, you're dropping it, man. You're dropping it, man. You know what I'm saying? So every time after you speak, man, we got to just let that marinate though, man. And process the information, man. But word. I bow down to the queen.
There was so much in there. What I wanted to pick up on was, of course, it makes perfect sense for us to move forward together. That's it. Move forward together. And it's just, I don't know how you see this. We have that saying, the struggle is real, but we forget that the struggle is not only, if you even, relate to that word, it's not really, just the grinding and the hustling and the trying to survive. Our struggle is trying to get back together and rebuild the community that's been broken down over a long, long time. So it's like, I don't know to what extent we understand that is a struggle. Like, it's not going to be easy. Like, things are happening. Like you say, even at this side of the pond, there is a lot going on. Homeschooling is on the rise, not only so much in the melanated community, but just generally, because people are getting fed up with the education system. There is seriously a major shift, but it's sometimes I question whether we fully understand that to get to where we need to go to, it really takes work. It's not going to be easy. And when we're already, many of us are already stressed with trying to play this game, working all hours and hardly having time with family, this, that, and the other, whether that leaves any time, unless you be persistent, to put in that extra to start rebuilding that community.
Indeed. I believe that Nipsey Hussle said something so powerful. He said that children spell love Time.
That's a fact.
And when I heard that, I said, wow, this brother, I pray that, the conspiracy theories are true and the God is somewhere in the Mayan ruins, waiting for his wife and children to, come meet him with his money and
let everything blow over.
But yeah, fam, I believe that not just children, but family spells it Time. Like I drive my children every dawning, and I draw for them in the afternoon. I try my best to, like last night I was exhausted. My daughter wanted to, I'm trying to finish a document. She's like, Baba, she wanted me, she had her chess pieces out. She creates tracks with the chess pieces. We're a big chess family. So she'll create all, and she asked me to, and I was tired, but I got, like, there is nothing more important. Like, even my time right now this evening is kind of a violation in terms of how I govern my family. But Brother Brian and me have been building about this for a long time, and I don't ever do work at 3 o'clock unless it's endorsed by my wife and my children. I miss out on opportunities all the time. But to be honest with you, the greatest opportunity and privilege I have is to be a husband and a father in these days and times when there's been a war against the family. Chancellor Williams, destruction, you know what I mean? Like, I think we need a whole bunch of books talking about the destruction of our families. But more importantly, as opposed to just talking about destruction, I'm interested in the tools. Because remember, if you look in terms of our igun. And they always say that you can't know yourself unless you know almost 7 generations of igun. Those patakis, those narratives, those mythos are so important to ourselves as individuals and frame the projections and proclivities and patterns that usually are generational. And if we don't know these mythos, these narratives, we're bound to repeat them. So the tools that we need to get from our elders, a lot of times they don't have for various reasons. Our elders really struggled in terms of understanding the gender harmonics and how to navigate the masculine and feminine energy and maintain their households. The babas, the fathers really struggled with honoring their wives and really even practicing some of the indigenous models of wifery and husbandry that would probably circumvent some of the issues that we have in the hells of North America. And more importantly, same thing for our sisters. So the struggle has been real, as my sister said, but the struggle is beautiful. It's a beautiful struggle. So I'm really excited about a lot of things, you know, like I see these children, my daughters, the most fascinating, incredible young women I've ever met in my life. And my sons, if I was half the men my sons are, I'd already hit that billion, brother. I'd be flying probably. Projection. So, and my wife, my goodness, one of the most resilient, brilliant women ever. If you know anything about me, that sister, you know what I mean, to maintain a relationship for over 15 years with a man like me, it's some serious work, you know?
Right.
For my family, for all the love and support. And I think that the work of husbandry not being taught. I can't speak for our sisters. I do know that almost every sister I know that is a yoga practitioner, Reiki practitioner, herbalist, into food servicery, food security, Reiki, that's an entrepreneur, that is a richy woman, a bourgeois. 9 times out of 10, their elders are usually brothers. There's a serious issue in terms of intergenerational collaboration with our sisters and elder women. That is a reality. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK, but I actually know a few sisters in the UK that are very powerful, and they have 1 or 2 elders that are female. And usually the female elders they have don't have husbands. So that science is missing on the female side, especially in the metaphysical, conscious, spiritual, whatever you want to frame that landscape or that ecosystem. And with our brothers, toxic masculinity is real. A lot of our elder men are trying their best to manifest and actualize things that they were supposed to actualize in their 30s and 40s. Because remember, older men are for counsel, young men are for war. And a lot of times the elder men and the young men are butting heads because the roles are off in so many ways. I'm blessed. One of my closest friends is an 83-year-old man from Mississippi named Earl, honest to my elder. My elder, Nene Kwasi Kafele, a chief in Maniakrobo, Ghana, who spent 6 months up here and 6 months in Toronto, and in Ghana and Toronto goes back and forth. I was his Ochiyame for about 6 or 7 years. He's edified me and built my capacity in incredible ways. My Baba, my elder, Chief Yuya in the States, this brother literally is like a father in terms of how I take his information, how he builds me up. I brought him to Toronto twice, and this man has given me so many jewels. My elder Louis Marsh, the list goes on. I have easily 50 older brothers, elder men, that have resurrected me from the muck and mire of toxic masculinity, violence, drug dealing. I don't even want to go into my past, but I was an entrepreneur, a legendary entrepreneur, but in very malefic things. So a lot of times, even if you look at, I'll give you an example. So I'm a student of Akan traditions, Yoruba traditions, Kemetic traditions, but one of my first traditions was Sumerian culture. There's a deity called Tammuz. And there's various deities, but there was a deity that had a very powerful energy, but it was negative. It was malevolent. It was disagreeable. And what was interesting about some of the disagreeable deities is when you were able to transform their lights, they became some of the most sovereign, strong, impactful deities. And I believe that even when I built my organization, Redemption, working with young men coming from incarceration, some of our brothers that are criminalized and have very serious criminogenic factors and are warriors, these indigo children were genetically bred for war, literally from birth. The challenge is they were fighting the wrong war. The war they're fighting was poverty, and it was by any means necessary. They didn't have eldership. I didn't have eldership. They didn't have community accountability, and more importantly, there's a Yoruba word called iwa pele, which means good character. They had bad character. I had horrible character when I was a young man. I was about getting shit done. My zodiac is I'm a Taurus, I'm a bull, I get things done. My Bagua astrology, I'm a lover leader. If I tell you about my North nodes and all that stuff, it'll share more, but we don't have the time for all that. I'm saying also to say that I have had a very specific light, but I wasn't able to project that light in alignment with my aura, with my purpose. And good character, Iwa Pele, is governed and developed in community. And we keep on thinking that we have community. I'm sure if I asked my brother Dwayne if there's a community, a black community, or African American community in New Jersey, you may say yeah. If I ask my sister Angela if there's a African UK community, black community, you say yeah. Same thing for Brian. The fact remains that these broad, our community is very dynamic. If you go to Africa, and I've been there 4 times, there's no one's like, I'm just an African, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Eritrean, I'm Ethiopian. If you go to Toronto, I'm black, I'm a Moor, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, I'm a Nation of Islam. We have so many titles that divide us and create social isolation, and we have varying distractions. And the propensity for distractions are becoming realer and realer. LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, employment opportunities. There is so much for us to do and so many ways that we aren't able to do the deep level of introspection that's needed for us to really know thyself. And that's the name of the game, self-awareness. The second you understand your purpose, your passion, the reason why you incarnated, the community you came to serve, not the community, broad, your community. Big difference. I haven't done, people see me all the time on Instagram. They think I'm a powerful community worker. I haven't done work for the community in many years. I do work for my community. And my community is my wife, my children, the women and men and brothers and sisters and families that have shared values and missions to my Ela and how I govern my household, and potentially folks that are within their networks. That is my community. If by chance my work impacts folks in the community broad, beautiful, because I'm here for fallen humanity. But the fact remains that we need to be very self-aware and conscious of our purpose and our assignments, our divine assignments. And the closer you get to that, the closer you are to success. And the game is to win.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
Powerful.
Right, because we've gone over that a bunch of times about community and actually being self-aware and how to become self-aware. But man, that's beautifully put, so etiquette and so powerful, man. It resonates deeply, and I hope that it resonates with the family as well. Actually, I know that it resonates with the family as well. It's needed. It's needed. And like you said, that toxic masculinity, we believe that there's more. Well, I don't know if I can speak for the Trinity here, but I believe that I can, and saying that we believe that there's may not be toxic masculinity, but there may be the lack of divine masculinity. There may be the lack of masculinity that is affecting us because, like you said, brother, we don't have that community leadership, those elders that give counsel. Because as young folk, we ready for war. We ready to conquer ourselves and to conquer the world. You know what I'm saying? And in the world, meaning to be able to provide for our family, protect our women, children, and other brothers. Because we missed that part too. You know what I'm saying? When a man says, "Oh, I'm supposed to protect," we think that we only supposed to protect our women and children. No, we're supposed to protect the other brothers as well. So, you know, and so many other things that just go missed. And then we get to the judgment of the effects and not the judgment of the cause. You know what I'm saying? We're judging the brother that's selling drugs. We're judging the brother that get locked up for robbing somebody, for stealing, for murdering, whatever it is that the heinous crime may be, right? Or potential crime may be. We judge on that, but we don't step back and be like, okay, what is the cause of this? You know what I'm saying? That basic principle of cause and effect. So when we go to the cause, that's when we're able to actually get into these solutions that you're bringing up. You know, let's go to the cause. The cause is we don't have family dynamic. We don't have community dynamic. We don't have elders that give counsel. You know what I'm saying? So when we actually take on that responsibility to be that elder, even if you're only 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, you know what I'm saying? Even if you're in that younger age, you could still be an elder to your younger generation. You know what I'm saying? To the ones that's 17, 18, 19, you can just go out and talk to them. You know what I'm saying? You can go around, hang out at the schools, you know what I'm saying? And just follow your intuition or your guidance and see what young brothers you can take on under your wing. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, it don't really cost money. It just takes time. TIME. You know what I mean? It just takes that consistency, that persistence, that will to want to see the next generation be blessed, to be in a better situation than where you may have started off. So I think that's very key, King. And I thank you for actually bringing that to the forefront, man. That's powerful. We definitely need it.
Word. I just want to be like the divide that you spoke about, within the communities. Like, like I'm a Hebrew Israelite, I'm a Moor. I'm Ghanaian, I'm Ga, I'm Ashanti, I'm this, I'm that, you know what I mean? The divide is an illusion. The divide ain't even real, but it's like the veil, it's like the fog, that keeps us, to me that's like a crucial part of knowing ourselves, is knowing the fact that, the oneness is real and the divide is the illusion.
Indeed.
But,
we always had tribalism. Like, this is the thing. Like, I remember when I was younger, the Toronto Sun put out a map of all the gangs in East Toronto. I don't know if you remember that map, Brian. All the gangs, the gang map. And the map, if it was red, they had guns. If it was blue, they didn't. And that map that was on the front page, this is in 1999, I was 16, it cost men their lives because law enforcement created this map that put on the front page of the newspaper, and they got the zones and areas wrong. They had the names wrong, and they didn't speak to, they mislabeled things. And men ended up actually looking at that and started doubling down on criminal activity in certain underserved and marginalized communities. But when I look at the original concept of these gangs, I won't name all of them right now, but there was a million of them back then. And then when you look at the tribes that you just mentioned, like the God, you know what I mean? We've always had distinct differences, and that was actually a beautiful thing. Let me explain. We've lost the art of mating and mate selection and courting. There was a time when your daughter has different phenotypes than my sons, right? And your daughter may come and she looks different, and we engage in terms of, is this a fit my son for your daughter, vice versa, as a community? But the distinct differences between us used to be what at some point was a unifier. Because remember, you want diversity. Not diversity the way they use these terms loosely in corporate America, corporate UK, around. I'm talking about diversity of thought, diversity of creed, of nation, of like oneness is beautiful, but we are one. All is I am, all can I can, all does I do, Pakaloon. Like, oneness is Allah Wahed. Allah is one. If every monotheistic religion, every spiritual system, every paradigm, mythos, narratives has an overarching theme of oneness. But within that oneness, there is distinct differences that are beautiful. The challenge is when, mainly patriarchy, to be honest with you, but when people try and use difference as a way to assert power or privilege over others. That is the challenge. Every blade of grass is the same. There's a oneness, it's all green, but they're distinctly different. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Every flare of the sun, though those millions of miles away, is not the exact same, but there's a oneness of the sun. Difference isn't bad. Distinctness can be beautiful. Your beard goes different than mine. Why? Because you're from Ghana. My parents are from St. Lucia. You are encoded with a higher concentration of melanin. So you have a distinct relationship with the sun in terms of how you engage with vitamin B, vitamin D. That's why you're melanin rich. You're a few hues, beautifully richer and darker than my personage. If I went to Ghana right now, I wouldn't burn because I have melanin, but your skin would absorb more than mine. That's beautiful. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So I'm saying all this to say that I feel like we have to honor difference. We have to celebrate difference sometimes, understanding that solidarity and the unifying components of difference can be actualized if men and women, or the divine masculine and feminine, recognize it as such. But that competition that manifests even amongst gender, in terms of difference of gender, it manifests in this physical realm so real consistently, and it's an idea that once we develop new and better ideas, that idea will be old. That's an old pattern. To be honest, you were saying it right now, it's done. That idea is done. Mm-hmm. We just did the ritual.
Yeah, unity is what the unity. When we say unity, we don't mean uniformity. Everything can't be as much as we're all one. It doesn't mean that we're all clones. That's not the way God, the higher, the all intended. What's the point? There has to be contrast. We already recognize, there must be light and dark. So I hear that difference is not a bad thing. We need difference. We need contrast. Otherwise, everybody is the same. And what is the purpose in that? So it's true. And yeah, that's totally been, what do I want to say? Adulterated, I suppose, like you say, the kind of concepts we have about equality or diversity. And it's like, no, diversity is completely natural. You just have to look at Mother Nature and know that diversity is completely natural. But like you said, is when people try and make others feel less than, or like you say, assert themselves to be more than, and which is not the case, So it's almost like what we talk about on here a lot is, the fact that we have to unlearn all the nonsense and relearn the real, the real truth, strip away all these labels and definitions and concepts that do not help us, that just pit ourselves against one another, and like just redefine what family is based on, we did have a model, but we're so far removed from that now, because everything's turned on its head. How do we get back there?
Indeed. I agree, my sister. And I appreciate your wisdom, and yeah, you have a brilliant spirit. Both of you brothers as well. Like this, I enjoyed this more than I expected, to be honest with you, even just the ritual before we came on. Really, because I turn down things like this all the time. And Brian will tell you it was even hard actualizing this because my time is my most precious commodity. I'm not motivated by money. I make money, I generate, but it's fiat currency. It's not even backed by no gold. You know what I mean? So like, I more generate opportunities and streams and revenues and people. I'm big on people. Like your network is your net worth. I invest in my network like you wouldn't believe. Hence why Brian keeps on calling me
the plug.
But with that being said, this is absolutely beautiful. Like, I really see a whole bunch of families and communities, not just tuning in, but developing similar models. Like, I know that, I've been compelled for almost like a year and a half. Like, I did a podcast session maybe about 3 years ago. It was like maybe 10 sessions. Like, I had my brother Kanye Carter, my sister Kenya Stevens from Juju Mama, my brother Rakim Sekou from Progressive Love. Like, I had my brother Dwayne Mooney, Sacred Man, Pina Fool. Like, I did some sessions. I never put them on YouTube. Like, I still have them in the vault. It's like 4 years ago, just because I didn't really, it's challenging sometimes, in my role in terms of what I do. I don't like to ever be typecast. I like to be an enigma. You know what I mean? So I never did it. And my brother came to me the other day when I told him about my book, Baba. And he was like, yo, remember that idea you had about Baba builds? Why don't you just do some on Instagram? Because I don't like YouTube for a whole bunch of reasons. So I've even been playing with this idea of just these 60-second joints called Baba builds, edifying men around husbandry, that aligns directly with my book. And the other thing that's fascinating, when you have time, check out my Instagram page. Because of the work I do with my clients in my consulting firm, I meet with a lot of social purpose organizers, nonprofit leaders, executive directors, SMEs, small business owners. And when I build their capacity around consulting or coaching, whatever it is I'm doing with them at the time, sometimes they actually tell me like, yo, I wish you filmed this. You know what I mean? In terms of, so we actually thought of a model, because I have a big conference table in my office. Brian's been in my office a few times, like setting up a camera at the end and calling it like Building with the Builders or something. So y'all are inspired. And I realize that I'm a firm believer that if I can create, I don't have to compete. So I'm always in a natural space of creativity. Like, you'd be surprised how much I produce and create on a monthly basis. And this is just another way where I can create very easily. It doesn't take much work. You know what I mean? Like, it is work, granted, but it's direct to market. It's direct to users, direct to clients, direct to community. So y'all are inspiring me to potentially, do something. You know what I mean? So, thanks.
Let's
Brother,
get it.
I was going to say, you've spoken it. It's already done. So it's just like, when are you going to hit record?
So-
it's like already done.
So it is. But check this out, though.
Uh-huh.
Family.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Come on, man. That's what we talk about, right?
Hey, I mean, Brother Vic, you got to come back, man, because, man, I know we didn't even
Exactly.
go as deep as we wanted to get. We touched on so many different things. It was such a beautiful conversation, but
Oh, Brother Dwayne looks like
We
just like
appreciate
my brother
you.
Tristan that I grew up with, a Milwaukeean brother. You know what I mean? You've been my man, Nabob. And this looks like my sister Enkim from the NOY back in the day. So y'all family. I will be a returning.
Oh,
I can be your Toronto correspondent that'll chime in once a month. Again, we just gotta figure out a time that works for my family. Cause this is not the
Right.
time.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
You tell us.
Gotcha. We can work that out.
all right, bet.
Yeah, you tell us. You tell us.
Not once, not twice, as many times as you want me to come. Cause I love what y'all are doing. I'm highly impressed. And that components before the session really inspired me, predicating the fact that I've done this before. And anyone that knows anything I do, it's always enforced by that vital force, by my spirits. So, I really, to be honest with you, when you were saying your words, my sister, I wanted to almost take a little video to show my wife and my sister Yandia. There's a few sisters that I know that, you even said something similar to how the women around me, like you said to my ancestors, known and unknown. And I was like, ooh, this sister's a witchy woman, man. She has it, And brother, I appreciate you. I'm gonna see you in New Jersey. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be out in New Jersey in August. You know what I mean? So I'll hit you up. I'll bring you some books. You know what I mean? I'll make sure there's a few vegan spots. You know what I mean? My man actually has a vegan catering spot. We gonna build. I probably know.
I'm ready, brother. I'm ready.
Yeah, indeed.
Beautiful.
All right. Yo, peace and power, family. More
Peace
love,
and power.
abundance, prosperity, health to you and yours.
Oh,
Brother
thank you,
Victor.
brother. We receive it.
Yeah, sorry, King. Before you depart from us, would you please just let the family know how they can reach you? Maybe drop your social handles and the book that you've just got coming out.
and where they can get all the other books you've
Yes,
published.
please. I beg you.
So my Instagram is at Vic Soleil. So that's VICSOLEIL. So Vic Soleil. My Facebook, Victor Beausoleil. Beausoleil is French. It means beautiful sun. My parents are from St. Lucia, so they're Creole. So Victor Beausoleil, BEAUSOLEIL. That's BEAUSOLEIL. My consulting firm is Intuits, as in intuition. Intuitconsulting.ca. That's INTUIT consulting, CONSULTING.ca. And my coalition is www.setsi.ca. And you can get the books. You can hit me up on the gram, on my website. There's lots of ways. And the book that I'm releasing on the Solstice Day, June 21st, is called Baba, A Young Man's Guide to Raising a Family of African Descent in what they call North America. And it's going to edify folks in terms of Uapele, character, eldership, mate selection, archetypes, governance, intimacy, food as medicine, housing, self-determination, and provision as a man, social entrepreneurship, Asafu, warrior, being a protector, community development, location, where we should be raising our families and how we carve out, as my Bible would say, a holy land or a sacred space, on food, clothes, and shelter, on legacy, on gratitude, on our divine Igun work in terms of engaging with our ancestors and finding out what the men did before us, around our developing masculine mentors, doing an audit to the men in your life and those that came before you, and has a solid recommended reading list at the end. So it's a classic text, another one for the school board. You know what I mean? We out here winning it. You know what I mean? And yeah, we gonna keep plugging away, producing and creating. And I give thanks to the Almighty, the Most High, to my ancestors, my Agun, and all of you. I'm truly honored and truly full of gratitude and humility. I give thanks.
We give
Appreciate
thanks.
We give thanks to you, brother. We give thanks to you, and thanks for coming in and blessing us with your presence and your wisdom and your counsel. You know, oh yeah, and another thing, man, we got a lot in common, man. I was raised in the Nation of Islam. I'm also a Taurus. Got a lot of things going on, creative, everything, man. So I definitely look forward to building with you, brother.
No, I'm excited. We're gonna chop it up. Brian's gonna send me your email address. We'll build 100%. And I'm gonna send you a couple free copies of my book. I'm gonna send you some books.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a blessing.
That's good. I'm gonna bless you with a nice care package. You know? Yeah.
Beautiful.
I say.
Thank you so much, brother, for joining us.
All right, peace
Hey,
and
family,
power.
one thing I want to touch on real quick, really fast, man. We mentioned the family dynamic, and Brother Vic already went ham on what husbandry, right? And I just wanted to break down husbandry from a different perspective. Husbandry, cultivating your resources. If you look up the definition of husbandry, just the regular definition it deals with agriculture, right? But it's actually cultivating your resources.
You know what? I don't want to be long-winded, but I want to share something quickly. So I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, Monday through Sunday. It took me 2 years to get here. I had to actually have 3 alarms to do this because I love waking up before the family. But for the past 6 months, my wife and I, we go to the water every Saturday and Sunday morning together. And there's a beautiful affirmation that my barber, Chihiya, develops. I want to share with the family. Do you mind? Yeah. So it says, I am the Almighty. I do not live in heaven. Heaven lives within me. I'm the author of my life story, not a passive curate. I write my destiny and I'm the cause of my causes. I do not crave abundance. I masterfully and creatively manage resources. As I raise my vibration, I will not hinder the excess in my life from being shaken off and falling to the wayside. I will center my daily activities around an inspiring purpose so that laziness, procrastination, and stress will never enter into my universe. I'm a divine expression of the greatest source conceivable. I give myself permission to fail, because even in my failure, there's enjoyment. Because as the Almighty, I'm a perfecting work. So those words written by my elder, Chief Yuya, serious brethren, you know what I mean, have affirmed me and my wife with the waters for about 4 months in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays before the children wake up. And I wanted to share with the family because that brother is doing epic work. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know what I mean? So if you have time, check out the work the brother is doing. Heavy teacher in terms of Yoruba Khan culture. Anyway, I've spoken enough. I appreciate your leadership, your guidance, family. Let me get to the fam. Peace and power, beloveds.
Peace, brother.
I
Love
love
you.
you.
Peace, power, and prosperity, and well-being, brother. Tell give the family our love.
Woo! Family.
So, wow. How many jewels were dropped there? I'm still trying to process.
Hey, what's my name again? Shit, I forgot. Hey.
It's all about the family.
Yeah.
Family rules the world.
Okay. So, final thoughts, family?
Oh, thank you, my queens. I just really receive, the emphasis that, now it's all about redefining what family means. The whole concept of the whole family, but also what the man's role, the husband, role is, what the woman's role, the wife's role, and the children, what their role is to be as part of the family. Because it ain't what we've been told for so long, and that's obvious because people are getting sick and tired, and some people have been making up their rules for a long time now, and some of us are just starting the journey. But it is time now to draw the family that really will support us, number one, and enable us to build a community, like a true concept of a community, which will further help us to know ourselves better.
Mother shit.
Hey, I do know the word family. I don't got my dictionary in front of me, but I'm pretty sure when you get into the etymology of the word family, it has to do with being a servant. And, as far as family is concerned, these are the people that we serve primarily, our immediate circle. You know, and there's power in service. There's honor in service. You know, a lot comes with service, and one of the major takeaways I have from everything Brother Vic said, you know, he mentioned purpose a lot. And living in your purpose, I feel like that's needed. We all got to get to the place where, you know, if we can't pinpoint our purpose, we could at least live in the spirit of our purpose. And as far as family goes, I'm still kind of young. I'm still learning, but I'm totally open to being, you know, a responsible contributing member to my family.
Mm-hmm.
As you already are.
Thank you. I receive it, though.
Absolutely.
Doing look out for the family.
You know, it's family, man. I mean, when we open, we say peace, family. When we close, we say peace, family. We love family. We always talking about family because family is everything. And it doesn't always mean blood. There's spiritual family. There's connected family. There's kinship, right? All of that is family. So it doesn't necessarily mean blood. And, you know, your extended family is your community, or as Brother Vic said, the community. You know what I mean? The difference between your community and the community. The community is your brothers and sisters that live in the next town, that live in the next city, that live in the next state, that live in the next country. You know what I'm saying? That's also your family. So, I mean, the family dynamic, but when dealing with, like, your immediate family, you know, your husband, your wife, your children, your aunts, uncles, cousins, mothers, fathers, grandparents, you know, all of that, in a sense, is playing a role. Being your most authentic self, living in your purpose, and then using that purpose to serve your family, like King said, you know, using your purpose to serve your family. You know, and even if you don't know what your purpose is yet, know that you're already living in it, because we're always on our journey. We were always on our journey. You know, in the spiritual community, you know, some people say, oh, you know, I was on my journey, or I started my journey 6 years ago, 7 years ago. No, you've always been on your journey. You know, just because you've taken different paths and made different decisions that would feel like it's not on your journey, but you've always been on your journey, because those paths that you've taken, you had to learn those lessons. Right? You had to gain that experience, because now while you're consciously in your journey and consciously creating, now you can use those lessons and use those experiences. You know what I mean? It's like with the brothers that came out of jail that Brother Vic was talking about, you know, switching that light, you know, they had to use those experiences, and now they are a better teacher. Now they are a more outstanding being. You know what I'm saying? Because of those experiences. You know,
Ashe.
So, I think the last thing I would just say, building on what Brother Dwayne just said, is that, and to remind our listeners that purpose is important, but remember, purpose is not stagnant. Our purpose evolves as we evolve. So, you know, it's good to get in touch with what we believe our purpose, but just be open to that changing and actually getting bigger the more we step into it.
Man, family. Hope you enjoyed this one, because we definitely enjoyed it. It was thought-provoking. It was expansive. It was everything you can come to expect from the Uplifted Being Show. You know? We could have added a little bit more laughter in this piece, but it's all gravy. I'd like to give a big, huge shout-out to our sponsors, aplussmoothies.com. That's APLUSSMODDEES. A Plus Smoothies. All that plus some. Go ahead and get you some. All up in your life. And shout out to Chiefswear. Chiefswear.com. Already. Our one-stop shop for African jewelry and fashion. They got the hookup, so, you know, plug into what they got going on and just make it happen.
Exactly. And you know how you can reach us on upliftedbeing.com. You know, check out the site. Leave us a voice message. Let us hear your beautiful voices. We can even play them on the show. And or reach out to us on Instagram, Uplifted Being Show, or Facebook, Uplifted Being. And if you want to get in on some more conversation, there's a private Facebook group, Uplifted Being. So you're invited to join us.
We got so much coming down the pipeline. Y'all just stay with us, walk with us. It's gonna be a beautiful ride. It is a beautiful ride thus far, and it will continue to be.
Hang tight.
So, my sister.
Yeah. So we give another big thanks to Brother Victor who joined us. And you know, unless there is anything else, it's about that time to bid the family light, love, and
peace. Think like. Feel like.
All right.
Show you right.
Yup.
Cause. High frequency. Yeah. Sync up. Already. Yay. I get up with the frequency each and every morning. Thanks, practice gratitude, commence brainstorming. Live, awake, excited, new day, new me. PSA, courtesy of JRE and Scott Free. Too many folks shallow, scared to drown in the deep end. And I ain't pointing fingers, best believe I was one of them. The pain I was numbing it, self-inflicted punishment. The streets I was running in led me to consciousness. Yes, they can steal my flows, but can't block my shine, baby. You see my glow? Now I live in the light, radiating love. Sun, you're a star, as below, so above. Am I too metaphysical? Are you over analytical? So many situations get critical. I'm a warrior, survivor is an understatement. Started subterranean, now we in the cosmos on some Milky Wavy-ish. Sun-kissed, melanin rich, health is wealth, we live abundant. Connected with the oneness, I'm off my dumbness. I bring to you substance more specific, life is synchronistic. All is energy, fact, over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine, catch contact. Physicality beyond that, high frequency, we on that. Mind over matter, thoughts not scattered. Gold stars co-creating, spiral up, no latitude, heaven or hell. Send you, leave a trail, the higher no polarities, the vibrations they all rare.
From day to day just hoping, going through the motions, staring at the doors, who could ever get this open? Till I uncovered the secret to keeping it real. I got in touch with my soul, expand my frequency field. We play and follow the leader ain't going nowhere. That's why I'm living my life with a sovereign mind. All I want in this world is to spread love and greatness to you, using my music for we out of time. So for the divine, I'm doing my due diligence, giving some peace to views that's too militant. Doing it different, I got purpose and position. Feel the vibration, transmission is the mission. Need you to listen to these words, my dude. I swear my third eye got a bird's eye view. And do you wanna sync up? Cause I do. Surfing this wave, follow as we ride through.
All is energy, fact, over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine, catch contact. Physicality beyond that, high frequency, we on that. Mind over matter, thoughts not scattered. Co-stars, co-creating, spiral up, no latitude, heaven or hell. It's in you, leave a trail, the higher no polarities, the vibrations they all rare.
Let it marinate, cause this is very great. To every state, the burden on my back, well, I carry weight. High frequency, high power, free spirit. Talking to the man upstairs and yeah, he hear it. Man, I'm riding the wave, inspired by the days when we sparked up, that was the light of the haze. But now I'm synced up, Yeah, my drink's up. Am I drinking again? Well, you know, yeah, the gig's up. Freedom ain't free. Believe them, they not me. The oppressor knows my melanin rich, and I'm scot-free. That means I got away. BS, not today. Stop and say, we good. Okay, no more drops today. This the high frequency, they gon' feel this. Filled with optimism, but still, I'm the realist. They gon' feel this. Yeah, real quick. Bring the chorus in. That's real.
All is energy, fact. Over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine. Catch contact. Physicality beyond that. High frequency, we on that. Mind over matter. Thoughts not scattered. Co-stars, co-creating, spiral up. No latitude. Heaven or hell, it's in you. Leave a trail. The high and low polarities. The vibrations, they all real.
Thank you for tuning in. Check out upliftedbeing.com and remember to rate, review, like, share, and comment, depending on where you're listening from. Light, love, and peace, family.